Hello, welcome to podcast number 4 on my channel Trust Asia Podcasts. And today on Trust Asia Podcast, we are joined by Brianna Lafferty, a professional who works at the intersection of care, communication, and life transitions. Brianna had a business education, holding a Bachelor of Business Administration from the University of Northern Colorado, when she began her career in corporate roles, including marketing and communications. Over time, her work moved closer to people and purpose. She is now a certified death doula, trained through IAP Career College, and currently works as a care coordinator with Tri County Health Network, where she helps individuals and families navigate healthcare systems and access resources. Alongside this, Brianna runs Bionic LLC, a holistic guidance practice focused on helping people navigate major life decisions and transitions, including chronic illness, end of life planning, grief, and identity shifts. She's also an award winning author with books that explore resilience, healing, and personal transformations, including White Flame, which reflects on her own near death experience and leads to nowhere, a guide to healing and self understanding. I will be putting the links of these books in the description box afterwards. And today's conversation is not about fear or taboo, it's about people cope with transition, how businesses can be built around care, and how structured tools can support emotional and spiritual well being. Welcome, it's great to have you with us. So, ma'am,
Thank you
the
so much
first
for
segment
having me.
that I would like to say is regarding your education and career foundation. You actually come from a business and marketing background. How did that foundation shape the way you approach your work today?
I started in business because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I ended up with an internship in construction, and that led me into a marketing and communication role in the construction industry. And I did that very successfully for about 15 years. And then I had my near-death experience as well as some major chronic health issues. And that got me thinking, what I need to do. And I did a little meditation, and it was brought to my insight that I should stop feeding my ego with marketing and construction and start feeding my soul by actually making a difference in people's lives. So, using that marketing and communication skill has absolutely helped me launch and propel my own business.
Okay, okay. And you worked in corporate roles and now in community health. What did those environments teach you about people that books never could?
Yeah. Oh man. There's not enough school that could teach you about business, the business world. You just have to be in it. You have to learn by doing. And in same as in the community health roles that I'm in now, yeah, I've got tons of training and there's training upon training upon training. It's, healthcare in a way. And they can try to tell you, but it's that real human life experience that you need that you can't get from a book.
So is it like after you meet multiple people, like you're quite in a tough situation, do you develop a sense of intuition that this person could be suffering from this particular problem, and are you able to understand that even before the person describes that particular problem to you? Have you ever like
Yeah,
faced?
yeah. Luckily, I came back with medical intuition after my near-death experience, which has helped me a lot in my own business as a transition guide. So oftentimes, just meeting with somebody, even virtually face to face, I can kind of depict what's going on, and then I could connect with their higher self and their guides and my guides and design a plan of care for that individual person because we are individual people and we are individual souls and we need individual care plans.
Understood. And I'm going to ask, at what point in your life did you realize that your skills in communication and coordination could be applied to life transitions and care work?
After I left corporate America and construction, I did everything that touched my heart. I tried cooking, I tried marketing on my own, I tried house sitting and pet sitting and running events, all sorts of things. And I came across a thing called a death doula. And the course I took with IAP Career College was really beneficial in helping someone set up a business. And because I already had so many of these business experiences starting new businesses, running businesses, getting them more profitable, more revenue, getting bigger and bigger, growing, I knew that I could do it for myself. So it really helped take away that imposter syndrome that a lot of people have, or that fear of, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. Because I have run other businesses in the past and I've helped other businesses run. So I knew that with my communication skills and my marketing, I would have no problem, telling people who I was, what I did, how I can help. And that was really essential.
So there's that amount of confidence in you that you knew that you could manage it all, when you ventured in this new space. Okay. So the next thing is that you now run Bryonic LLC. How do you usually explain your business to someone hearing about it for the first time?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over the years as I thought it would be purely being a death doula, but it turns out more people come to me for transition help and transition as in getting out of chronic illness, finding their purpose again, finding their self-love, self-compassion, reconnecting with their spirit, a healing, basically. So I now describe it as I help people in a holistic manner to reconnect and rebirth into their authentic spiritual self.
Ma'am, like this, the cause that you serve is definitely noble. But as you know that when you like running any business or any organization, so there is like a monetary aspect of it that you need for yourself and for for continuing a business operations as well. So how do you put a figure to it, and how do you decide like this service that I'm providing, it would be costing that much to me, and I would be requiring this much contribution to my firm. So how should we think like this kind of service? How do you come up with a figure in your head, or how do you value that these services you provide?
That's a great question. That took a lot of kind of playing with as well because I was very new into this kind of holistic care world. I knew how to price things in construction because I've been doing it. I've been working closely with estimators and products, but I've never been in the service part of the industry in health. And at first, I priced things really low because I thought, oh, if I'm affordable, I could reach more people. However, people took advantage of that and they'd ask for even less and they wouldn't take me as seriously.
Mm.
And as my books started winning awards and I started becoming more reputable online, I kind of I did a bunch of market research on what other people charge for similar based services
Mm.
and the experiences that I had. Plus, I have done so much extra training to make sure I can help the the client with the perfect tools for them.
Mm.
So putting together my experience, my knowledge, my medical intuition, and all my training, as well as what other people in my field charge, I came up with pretty decent numbers for half an hour sessions, and as well as death doula packages are very unique. You can have very little or this huge thing, and so
Mm.
that is just very based on working with the client and their needs.
Understood. Many people assume work around death or illness to be very emotionally heavy. How do you structure your services so that they remain supportive and not overwhelming for the clients?
Yeah, it can definitely be extremely overwhelming for clients, especially the ones facing chronic illness for years. They've seen doctors, they've seen naturopaths, they've maybe even seen psychics, and it's just one block after another, and it can be exhausting for a person with chronic illness or terminal illness. So I approach it with, compassion and an open mind, and I mostly just as you and I are talking on this very factual level, give them tools to help them improve their life, whether it's pain, improve their actual illness, help them reconnect with their spiritual self, because our spiritual self is healthy. So the more we can connect to our spiritual self, the healthier our body responds. So, I take it very factually and very cohesive, and I don't throw a lot of jargon in and not too much emotion. That way they can stay calm. And if they cry, I let them cry. and kind of, help them recenter back into this, engaging space.
So, as a care coordinator and transition guide, what kind of problems do clients most commonly come to you with? Like any three you could tell us, like problems which are the most common that you think that people suffer from when they come to you.
Yeah, definitely chronic illness and chronic illness of all types. Um, a lot of um, neurological conditions, traumatic brain injuries, um, fibromyalgia, some long-term stuff that they haven't figured out yet. And for my care coordination part, it's really helping people who are down on their luck. They've had an accident at work or they've gotten this illness and it's put them in a really bad financial spot. And I'm able to provide resources to help get them into, kind of where they were before or even better than they were before. And as a transition guide in my own business, I really provide the tools to help support them. And mostly it's chronic illness or a really lack of understanding their purpose and a lot of, emotional fatigue, I would say. So just giving them the support and resources on either side is really what I do.
Diana, you've trained in areas like, guided imagery, meditation, and emotional techniques as well. So, how do these people, in a very practical and real world ways, these tools that you use, uh, what is the secret behind them, or what do you think is the science that is the underlying truth behind all these attempts to heal the patient through all these techniques? Is there a single uniting factor among all these things, or are they each a different field of science or study completely different from one another?
I would say there is absolutely an underlying theme, and it is neuroplasticity, as well
Mhm.
as we have the power to create reality. So, a little bit of my NDE knowledge plus all my training, the brain is so plastic, it's moldable. And when you have trauma or abuse or self-downing thoughts, chronic illness, it creates this big cavity in your brain, like a huge canyon water's been going through for millions of years. And a lot of these techniques are to slowly dam that river and change it in a different direction because our brains are super plastic and super malleable. And all of these techniques are just different ways of doing that, depending on what that person resonates with.
Understood. I wanted to ask that how do you work grounded and ethical, especially when clients are vulnerable or in crisis and they might, open up themselves to you. So how do people or any practitioners in among your community, how do you all manage to be so grounded and so ethical, despite the fact of that there are so many opportunities that somebody misuses them?
A few different ways I stay grounded and ethical. One is I've done a ton of research. After my NDE especially, I researched different cultures, religions, natural therapies, pharmaceutical therapies, all sorts of stuff. So even plant medicines and some people might think something's taboo, but in reality, it could actually be a great way to facilitate healing. So I just try to be very mindful and cognizant and keep my own bias out of the picture and staying grounded, just knowing that there are so many different views, so many different experiences, and so many different, there's no one right way to do anything. And I think that's really helped me to just have these, you know, very cohesive conversations with clients. And, ethically, I abide by I don't share your story if you don't want me to. If you want me to share your story and your progress, I will. But because it is such a personal nature to people of people and very vulnerable, a lot of people do not want their stories out there, so therefore I don't share them.
Ma'am, your own personal near-death experience clearly influenced your perspective. So, in very, very brief terms, if you would like to describe a few aspects of it, or like the core of it, like what and what you, how your perspective shifted dramatically, and how your life changed, the direction that your life was leading changed completely after that. If some small introduction to that situation, so that some, the listeners are aware that this was a thing that sometimes changes our lives, and paths that we're taking can be greatly altered by such a situation.
Yeah, so my heart stopped for 8 minutes, and my experience felt like it lasted 2 or 3 months while I was not connected to my body. And in that time, the only experiences I had was pure love, joy, and curiosity. So coming back from just this beautiful place of infinite possibilities, as soon as I thought it, I saw it. Coming back to this physical world, it was at first very confusing, but I realize it's because our thoughts are very high frequency, and matter is the slowest form of frequency. So it takes a long time to slow down and actually see it happen. So the key points I learned in my near-death experience, which have come true in my own life, are if you think it, then you feel it, then you'll see it. So you can manifest, you can create your own reality. It might take time and it's going to take some work, but it's very possible. Another thing is, we are beautiful souls, and we don't have gender, we don't have race, we don't have politics, we don't have religion even. So when you strip away all of those labels from people, you really get to see their soul. And that really helped inspire me to do transition guide work, because I see your soul, and not all these other a million labels that our world has put onto us.
Understood. Uh, when clients ask about meaning or fear or uncertainty, how do you respond without imposing your personal beliefs on them?
Yeah, my biggest thing is a lot of people that I've worked with have found purpose through their pain. Like in my NDE, there was no pain, there was no fear, there was no judgment. And I've also learned that we choose these pivotal points in our life that can be very hurtful, very hard, very traumatic. And we often place those there to help push us towards our purpose, or help guide our trajectory in life. So I really just help kind of explore in a very sensitive way on, because you're feeling this, how might you be able to turn this into a purpose? Use your pain as purpose, because those who use their own pain as a purpose to serve others are extremely successful, and um, are extremely valuable to our world.
And I just see that, like, among your personal experience and those of your clients, I see that the quality of resilience seems to be the most important. The ability to get back after a setback so drastic that your own life is threatened. So, if you could, just share a small perspective of what resilience as quality means to you.
Yeah, definitely. I've lived a life of resilience. I think all my books mention it somewhere, because my life was full, still is full of getting knocked down and getting right back up. I used to describe me as one of those little bobble play things you get that are weighted at the bottom, and you hit them, they're smiling, and they just get right back up. But I was recently told I'm more like a phoenix, that, I might go up in flames, turn into ashes, and I always rise again. And in that, there was so much more meaning. And it's that you don't stop. I forgot who said it, but the only time you fail is when you stop trying. And that is basically resilience.
So, in the field of work that you work, what do you think, like, which skills, if like you have to name any three skills which are the most important to someone, in transition work, or, I think definitely think empathy is very important. And any other skills that you can mention it to, which you think are very important for people working in the field?
One is absolutely compassion. That is utmost. If you're not compassionate for others, you're not going to be able to help anybody, and then you're going to be miserable doing it. Another extremely important skill, which not everyone is too good at, and sometimes I even struggle because we are human, but it is checking your bias, leaving your biases at the door, or exploring why you have them. If you have this instant judgment about somebody, exploring where that judgment comes from. Because we are judgmental, it is what has gotten us to here. It's what's kept humans alive. We have to be judgmental. But if you can explore that judgment and find out where it's coming from, not only will you grow, but you'll be able to grow in your ability to help others. I think those are the two really key ones. And then the third one is being able to actively listen. Listen without trying to think of a response, just listening and then, digesting it and then responding. So as someone's talking, not just be like, oh, I'm going to respond to this. I'm going to respond to this. So listening is the third one.
Ma'am, could you talk about any one book which you feel that readers must, that anyone exploring this field or wants to know more about it can, read any one book by you? And I think this one that leads to nowhere. It's available in our country as well on Amazon. So can you just talk about this particular book or any other book you feel is the most important among your works?
I think Leads to Nowhere is absolutely the most important. White Flame is completely about my near-death experience. I was told I had to write books from, my higher self. And I was just like, all right, it's a crazy story. Let's get it out. Then the second book I wrote with my mom about my medical condition. That's myoclonus dystonia, a neurological movement disorder that ended up leading to my near-death experience. But I didn't know how they were related when I released those two books. It wasn't until I found meditation and getting back into the space of my near-death experience that I was able to heal from this 22-year long chronic, incurable movement disorder. And so Leads to Nowhere puts together my near-death experience, my chronic illness, how to heal from it in a very simple, quick, like introductory way, and the importance of them both together. So I think that is one of the most moving, helpful books I've released. And it's short, it's an introduction, and it just kind of gives you some insight and ideas of where to go.
That sounds wonderful. And ma'am, like one question I had, like, like we've heard of artificial intelligence and all of that so much. Ma'am, in this particular field, like yours, I think it's human touch is the most important thing. So, do you think AI has any relevance in this field? And do you think this particular profession of yours is a bit foolproof? We can say, as far as AI is concerned, it's not going to be a problem to your field.
Well, yeah, I study up on AI too a lot, especially because it's emerging in our world. And, more people are becoming reliant and addicted to it. So, I try to stay in touch, but you are correct. Human touch and human interaction is so very important. The thing that I'm worried about is, AI is becoming so advanced so quickly that you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a human interaction and an artificial intelligence interaction. And also, in some state, at what point are we slightly artificial intelligence ourselves? So I don't think my profession or any profession is foolproof. I think there's endless possibilities because there is. Literally, if you think it and you feel it, you will see it. So it's just try to stay cognizant. And I think the more that we can remain human and keep our human nature and our human selves will be important, but I can't tell you what the long term looks like because it is progressing so quickly and so fast. A lot of people can't tell the difference even now.
Yes, absolutely. And Brianna, I have one last question I had for you is that if people remember your work years from now, what impact do you hope it had on their lives?
I would hope that I was able to help ignite that spark in them that help them heal and reconnect with their spiritually authentic self. That's my biggest goal because in that is love. And the more people that understand that, the more people that love and the more our world heals.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a wonderful time talking to you, and I'm full of gratitude. Thank you for having this conversation. I'm sure it would help a lot of people. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.